This is so weird, it's been so long. Hey everyone, for those of you that may not know me very well, I'm Grace, and I am kind of starting this new adventure on YouTube, which is really exciting. I did have a few videos on my channel from years ago when I had a blog, and so YouTube was really just an outlet for me to have a place to upload videos for the sake of my blog. But it has really just been something that I've thought about for a few years now and have just wanted to kind of like dive in and have some fun with. So I thought, what better way to kick it off than with a video about me just turning 30 and the lessons that I've learned since I've turned 30. Or wait, the lessons that I've learned like from my 20s, or I guess up until this point of turning 30. It feels weird, but I mean, what better way to start a new adventure with something like this than with a new decade? So I guess I'll just like jump right in. And I did make a list, but we'll see how many we get through, because if this is a million years long, then we shouldn't post this, right? So without further ado, grab your favorite beverage. I have water in here because I definitely have not had enough water today, and it is far too hot outside to not be drinking water. So if you have coffee or tea or anything more fun, I am jealous of you. Okay, so first and foremost, getting strong feels awesome. I really started understanding the benefits of like exercising, and for the first time, like in the past like couple of years, I would say, I started taking my health a little more seriously in terms of just like weightlifting and exercising, and I could tell the difference, and it was a little annoying how much better I felt and how motivated I was to get better and to lift more and just like heavier things, and then putting it to the test with like, you know, just lifting furniture or things around my apartment. And it is how people say it is. I mean, it is worth it. So it feels good to be stronger. You won't know if something is right for you unless you take the first step towards it. This is a huge lesson that I learned at the beginning of my 20s, or I guess late teens, when I moved to California. It felt like a very big leap of faith, and the same when I moved to Atlanta. Any big move that I've made, it felt like the right thing, but you really don't know it is until you get there and you just start putting yourself out there and putting your best foot forward. And so I highly recommend taking a leap on things if you feel like it is the right thing to do, or if you're stuck in this limbo of like not knowing what move to make. Always taking one step towards something like that is going to give you like the clarity that you need, at least that I have found. All right, you can be bold and stand up for yourself while also being kind. And this is a big thing that I've learned. I think I used to be very much like a people pleaser and was worried about like what people would think, or think that I was not polite if I spoke up, or if I was blunt or like stated any opinions I had, especially if they were different from the person that I was talking to. And I've learned that there's like a good way to state your case and state where you're coming from and defend yourself while still being polite and kind. It's like a very strange balance, but I don't think that you should just kind of like, I don't know, put your feelings aside or just sweep things under the rug at all times. I think there's definitely a time and place for it. Buy the size that fits. The number itself doesn't matter. Any type of clothing, I mean, you're gonna fluctuate in clothes, whether it is big or small. Different phases of your life might look different than others. And I think I used to worry so much about like, well, I'm not gonna try on like that size pant or that top because it'll be X size that I am not used to. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure everybody can kind of understand that mentality of just not wanting to go up in a size or even low in a size. You want to stick with something that you're comfortable with. And at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. So many different stores and companies and countries size differently, and what is on a tag doesn't mean anything. So buy the thing or try on or put on the thing that fits and that makes you feel good, and the number does not matter. This is like my new life motto, and I feel like it's gonna sound kind of mean, but you can do anything with a little bit of spite. And by that, I mean, if something doesn't go your way, if you get rejected a lot, I think I mean that and take that as motivation to either prove yourself, to work even harder towards your goals. If you kind of have a little bit of that, like, you know, grittiness, like to you or to your goals or to any type of motivation that you might need, I think that it can go a long way. Oh my gosh, I am still learning this one and it is so hard, but it is so important to set boundaries. And I feel like I probably sound like any other person on the internet saying like, you need to set boundaries, whether it's family members or friends or just people in your life that don't serve you or that it feels, you know, more anxiety provoking to be around them. It really just doesn't do anything for you in the long run. And boundaries are great and they're important, and it is so great to say no, and I highly recommend it. The 70s were the greatest decade for music, and I don't need to say more on that. Self-care is not just meant for like once in a while. I used to think that, oh, well, I'm gonna treat myself to, you know, my favorite meal and a bubble bath and a movie, like all in one night. Kept thinking it had to be like this very special time, or like when I felt more burnt out or more exhausted, then I got to treat myself for like all the hard work. Absolutely not. Self-care is something that you should do every single day in different ways. For me, I love my morning time. I love reading in the morning before starting the day. Even your skincare routine, morning and night, if it is a ritual, that's a form of self-care. It is so important to take care of yourself. On Instagram, her name is Operation Nikki, and she always says that self-care is, what does she say? Self-care is filling up the cup you pour from. And I just thought that was the best way to put it because it is so true. Okay, I don't know what number we're on. I have learned that a shower or any form of like bathing cures a lot. Like it makes you feel really good. If I just feel gross and not really wanting to do anything, being clean helps. I kind of already touched on this, but eating healthy and exercising, it's annoying, but it makes you feel good. No one wants to do it. Like no one wants to admit that like, oh gosh, these things that we've known forever really do benefit us and help us, but it's true. It goes a long way. Traveling is the best education that you can give yourself. It doesn't have to be abroad. It can be, you know, in a town over from the one you live in or a different state. I mean, I think just immersing yourself into different communities, cultures, languages, if possible, being surrounded with like different types of food and just like different people than something that you're close to or like that you're used to in like your little bubble is so important. And you just learn so much about the world and yourself. Keep someone's point of reference in mind. So I learned this recently on a podcast, and it kind of was like this light bulb that went off in my brain of, I mean, it's kind of like the age-old quote of everyone comes from a different story, or they bring something different to the table, or I'm butchering this, but just someone comes from something. Everyone does. That doesn't make any sense. What I mean by this is everyone has a backstory, and if you know someone well, then you might understand like why they would react the way that they would. If they had a certain type of home life, if they had certain experiences, then the way that they react to certain situations or when they walk in the room is going to be different than yours because your backstory in your life is different. It's kind of helped me better understand people in my life and personally knowing like why they are the way that they are, why they react the way that they do, and then how to tackle it. So just kind of keeping someone's frame of reference in mind has been helpful, at least for me. And on that note, laughter is the best medicine, and I stand by that. Oh, this one. It hurts, but it's so true. It is impossible to live a joy-filled life in a job that you hate. Brene Brown. I completely agree that if you are in this state of just kind of feeling things like are mundane or the same thing all the time, or like Groundhog Day, if you will, then it is going to be impossible to live a joy-filled life. I have tried staying in a job where it just did not feel like where I was meant to be. I felt kind of stuck, and I, lo and behold, actually ended up leaving that job very recently. But I would do all the right things. I would try to have a big morning before the day started. I'd go on walks. I would, have a really great lunch. I'd put these things throughout my day to look forward to, but at the end of the day, the job itself just wasn't where I was supposed to be. And when I heard Brene Brown say that quote, it was like a big aha moment. So not everything in life is life and death. Actually, most things in life are not life and death. Try, if you can, to put that at the forefront of your mind anytime something big happens or it feels like this massive problem. Kind of dwindle it down to that, and it really does help. Okay, back to clothing. Stick with the classics. I know it is so tempting to get into trends and what other people are wearing. Obviously, you don't want to look like you're out of the loop. I've learned for me that when I give into trends, sometimes I don't always feel like authentically myself, or sometimes I'm just, it's kind of a waste of money at the end of the day. I don't know. It doesn't pay off in the long run. Big lesson, hobbies are awesome. They are so much fun. I used to hate it when people asked me what my hobbies were, because I would always just say, I love watching movies and TV, and I feel like that sounds lazy, but to me, it really is something that I love to do. I've recently started getting more into hobbies and wanting just different outlets, and I love pickleball for one thing. I know everyone's playing it, but I really do love it. And I started watercoloring, reading more, which I've kind of always been a reader, but really taking that on and making time for it. So many different things. And I think it's really fun to try new hobbies. So highly recommend to acquire as many different avenues and outlets that you can have. Okay, so this one is a big one for me that I've learned. It is learning how to do things yourself is so much more fun and worth it than feeling worthless or helpless. When I first moved into this apartment, I was a little bit impatient with wanting things done in terms of setting up my curtains or hanging bookshelves or, things on the wall like that. And the University of YouTube is a wonderful place because it taught me how to do things, and I had very simple tools. I had a screwdriver, just a little toolkit. And it's obviously within reason. Don't just try to do things that you're not capable of doing or that a professional needs to do, but simple things that you can figure out on your own, and then achieving that, it's so rewarding. My mom has a friend. She will teach herself how to rewire a light fixture, and anything that you think you could possibly do yourself, she will attempt to do it. And I just find that so cool. So I've tried taking that on as I get older, again within reason, but yeah, I just think that it's so much more fulfilling and rewarding if you can try to do it yourself, instead of just thinking, oh, well, I'll just, have so-and-so help me or call on them. It feels so good when you can figure it out. I never thought I would say this, but it is way more fun to like sports than to kind of be, and I don't mean this in offense to anybody, but to kind of be a stereotypical girl about them. I feel like there is this overarching idea with a lot of girly mentality of you can't be girly in sports, or if you are girly, you may not know the rules of football and certain things like that. And I think it's so easy for women and girls to fall into that. And I definitely have been most of my life. I was not into sports. I was into the arts and into theater and into more creative outlets, which is great. I have nothing against that. But I think I would also purposefully stop myself from having any type of interest in sports. I think just as I've gotten older, I've kind of learned that you don't have to like every sport. You don't even have to play the sport, but you can it's fun. It's fun to pick a team and follow it, or pick a sport and keep up with the players, or keep up with your favorite country if it's something, like soccer or tennis. I've just found a lot of joy in that, and I love being able to have more diverse conversations with people. I may not be able to contribute much in football, but I can contribute, in other avenues. Again, you don't have to love it. It's totally fine if it's not your thing, but I say just give it a shot and see what you think. I'm still learning this one, but protein matters, people. Protein matters, it matters, it matters, it matters. I might get some hate for this one. I think it's because I see like my nieces growing up and I see like, you know, young kids on like TikTok and everything. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is wild. But here it is. Being ditzy is not fun and it is not cute. And I know because I used to think that way or like thought it was funny or, you know, and I think there's a time and place for acting silly and, you know, it's okay if you don't know everything. Obviously, most people don't. I think if we can kind of change the narrative a little bit to, you know, it's fine if you don't know, but then just ask the questions. I learned this from Ted Lasso. Be curious and not judgmental. And it's so hard, but especially in conversations like political ones or things where it could be, there like could be more tension here and there. I think it's so beneficial to ask someone why they have a certain opinion or why they think the way they do, as opposed to just being on the defensive side and, you know, judging. I definitely am not a pro at this, but I think that it's something that I personally want to carry into this new decade, especially with bigger topics and conversations of just trying to understand someone's frame of reference, like I mentioned, and then, you know, kind of having like a more healthy conversation around it. We'll see how that goes. Everyone comes from a place of hard things, difficult things. You know, you never know what someone is going through each day, but it's not an excuse for being unkind. And I know first and foremost, like I am not the poster child for this. I can definitely bring whatever happened with me on that day to a room as much as I tried not to. Sometimes, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all just human. We're doing our best. But I think that I've tried and I have learned that at the end of the day, someone else could be going through something far worse, or you just have no idea what the other person is bringing into the room. And everyone does deserve to be treated with kindness as much as possible. And so it's just something that I personally like to think of. You just, you know, everyone has their off days. And I think as much as we can show compassion for one another, then that would be great. I like don't know how to end any of these topics. I'm just like, that'd be great. Let's see. Hope it works out. Okay. Plants are hard. They are hard. They require so much love and attention and care. And I don't have a green thumb yet. I'm really going to try to have a green thumb. But I tried growing herbs. And granted, in my little apartment, it doesn't get much sunlight. But I got a book and I highlighted it and I took notes and I read things online. And it's just, they're hard. Big lesson. Your gut tells you a lot. And now that I'm saying this, I am meaning it like metaphorically, but also kind of literally. One, on the actual health side, again, I'm not a doctor and I am not any specialist, but your gut really does tell you a lot. I feel like based on the things that you eat, how much sleep you're getting, anything like that does affect your gut. And when you kind of feel off or when you feel great, I think that that's kind of something to take note of. But then on the other hand, your gut metaphorically, I think intuition is something that can be so overlooked nowadays, especially in like the dating world. And there were so many times where I had inklings of things not working out, and thank God that they didn't. But it's just, you know, like when you are supposed to leave or when something isn't right or when something is right. I think that ignoring your gut or your intuition is so easy to do. And it's just a big lesson that I've had to learn several times. And so I'm hoping that I can carry that also into like this new decade and kind of like phase of life of, you know, trusting yourself, or trusting myself rather. Don't make a guy your whole world. Don't do it, because odds are 9 times out of 10 you are not their whole world. Looking back, there are so many things that I've done or situations that I've approached where I'm just like, who was she? We don't think that way anymore. But yeah, don't make a guy your whole world. If he doesn't call you, if he doesn't text you, okay. Like, just don't wait on them. Don't wait on them to make plans for a weekend. And I know this because I've done it and it hurts. To quote Grey's Anatomy, you are the sun, not them. Can you tell that I get a lot of like my life lessons and things from TV and movies? I don't know. You can never have too many coffee mugs, and I don't care what anyone says. You can have them for every holiday, you can have them for every other day, you can have one for just Wednesday, and that's okay. This is a big one, and I did not come up with this. I heard it somewhere, and it really put a lot of things into perspective, but everyone is the star of their own movie, and they are constantly worried about themselves and their plot. They are not watching your movie. By that, I think it kind of just means that you don't really have to worry about what people think, because everyone is way more concerned about themselves. Odds are they're probably not looking at you. They're probably not even concerned with the things that are going on in your life. Case in point, my boyfriend is so nervous about taking like a workout class with me because he's so afraid everyone's gonna like watch him, and I tell him that all the time. Like, everyone else is watching themselves in the mirror. They are more concerned about their form than they are yours. And I just think if you can kind of remember that, then it helps with when you do put yourself out there and you do try new things or get out of your comfort zone, that everyone else is doing the same thing, or they are just more concerned about themselves and what other people think of them rather than the other way around. Well, guys, those are some of the lessons that I've learned so far, at least like up until turning 30. Or, I mean, honestly, most of them I learned, I feel like a majority in my 20s and late 20s specifically. Yeah, and just very excited about turning 30 and like this new phase of life and decade, I guess, or chapter of my life. I feel like 30 can have like such a negative connotation with it. And for me, I just always felt neutral. I just wasn't excited, but wasn't not excited for it. Actually, when I turned 30, I was very fortunate enough to be on a vacation with my friends and family. So it was a very special way to ring it in. And I'm just excited for this new creative adventure as well, with, you know, making videos and kind of getting back to that creative side that I really love. So if you feel like it, feel free to like, subscribe. I don't really know what people do these days on YouTube, but yeah, feel free to hang around if you want to, and maybe I'll see you next time. Bye.